Welcome, everybody, to the September 24th Board of Health meeting for the town of Littleton, Massachusetts. This evening, we have Kevin Davis as chair, Dan Kane and Kevin Baker, members at large. We have Francis as our director of health and Heidi as our admin. Thank you so much. We have a great evening of items to discuss. So our first thing at 7 o'clock is a public hearing for 30 Dahlia Drive. All right. And 30 Dahlia Drive, who is the people that we need? Looks like we need Kirk. And I want to promote him as panelist. And do we need anybody else that's in the audience? If so, just raise your hand and we will promote you as well.
Good evening. This is Kirk Fitzpatrick with Civil Solutions, and I'm here on behalf of Vernon and Linda Hartwell for their property at 30 Dahlia Drive. I'd be happy to share the plan.
I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So basically what we have proposed before you is a septic system upgrade for the existing 3-bedroom house. It's currently served by a 1,000-gallon tank, kind of hovering over and off of Dahlia Drive, and that feeds a couple of leach trenches in the rear yard, or I guess it's the side yard on Dahlia. It failed the Title V inspection, and we actually clipped a corner of the leach field during our soils testing, and it definitely has failed. I think it's probably in the groundwater, and it's completely saturated. So we continued on to 2 test holes, test holes 1 and test hole 2, where we had some top and subsoil over a sandy loam. We had a seasonal high water table at 32 inches in test hole A and 36 inches in test hole 2. And we ran a percolation test, and that actually ran at 25 minutes an inch. We did have some observed groundwater at 68 inches and 72 inches, but it was dry enough to be able to run the percolation test. So basically what we have proposed is to come out to a new 1,500-gallon 2-compartment septic tank that's going to feed to a 1,000-gallon pump chamber, and that's going to pump the liquid up to a leach field composed of the Presby EnviroSeptic that's 16.5 feet wide by 32 feet long. So the system is going to be elevated. So it's got some fill associated with it, but we can maintain the 10-foot offset to the property lines. We tried to push it away from the house a little bit so we're not impacting drainage towards the house. This gravel parking area has a little wood retaining wall around 3 sides. So the finish grade over the system actually blends in quite nicely with that gravel parking area. So with that being said, we're asking for a reduction in the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet with the use of the Presby EnviroSeptic. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Francis, why don't you go ahead and present some of your notes?
Sure. And Kirk, this was the one where it was mostly fill in the back of the yard?
Yeah, so this one had test hole A was actually original. We had 22 inches of topsoil and then 36 inches of subsoil, and then it changed to a sandy loam. And then test hole 2, we kind of hit, I don't know if I'd call it a garbage dump, but there was some debris buried for about 3 feet, and then we hit the old layer of subsoil below that down to 48 inches, and then it changed to the sandy loam. So that the area of excavation when they do the system will be a little bit bigger in the vicinity of test hole 2. Deeper, I should say.
Yeah, so all 3 lots tonight for the hearings are fairly similar issues. It's a tight lot. I think what he has proposed is appropriate for the situation. I think if we raise a grading for the soil system of greater than 2 feet of groundwater separation, likely I think it would need fill within the 10 feet of the property line. Is that probably correct, Kurt?
That is correct. If we elevated the system any further, we'd be less than 10 feet of the property line towards the rear. And I also think you'd start to impact the grading going towards the house. So the reduction in using the 2-foot offset with the Presby makes it actually blend in fairly well. It's still going to be a little bit of a bump, but it's the grade actually goes up as you go up Dahlia Drive. So it'll blend in fairly well on the high side. It'll only really look like a bump from the back.
Thank you.
Okay. Why don't we go to Mr. Baker? You have any questions?
I only had one question, but I think I answered it. I was wondering if they did any testing on the Grove Road side of the lot, but I see the water line comes in there, so that would impede putting the system over there. But beyond that, I think they did the best job fitting it in where they could with as little as variance as possible. So good job. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Kane.
I don't have any questions actually. I'm good. Thank you.
And the chair has no questions either. I don't see any other way to really do this. So, okay, we have 3 attendees in the audience. Does anybody have any questions or comments from the audience? If you raise your hand, we'll add you to the panel to speak. If not, okay. I need a motion. Mr. Baker.
I would like to make a motion to approve the plan as presented and allow for reduction in the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet with the use of the Presby EnviroSeptic leaching system.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Kane. I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Baker.
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Kane.
Mr. Kane votes yes.
And Mr. Davis votes yes. Okay. Well,
Great.
we've got 3 minutes until the 7:10 hearing, so we're going to have to wait on that a little bit. Why don't we cover any administrative matters? How about the meeting minute approval? Do you think we can do that in 3 minutes? Hearing no objections. Does anybody have any comments on the meeting minutes? I thought the meeting minutes actually looked really nice. So whoever did those, phenomenal job.
Heidi's good.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes for August 27th, 2025 as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Awesome. Mr. Kane, roll call vote. Mr. Kane.
Kane votes yes.
Mr. Baker.
Kevin Baker votes yes.
And the chair, Kevin Davis, votes yes. Excellent. We are done with that. That took a whopping 1.5 minutes. We are flying along. Okay, Francis, do you have any other administrative things that we want to talk about till we get to 7:10, which is 2 minutes away?
Yeah, sure. So just some quick updates. We have our flu and COVID clinic on Monday. We are completely full right now for signups. We're anticipating maybe about 25 extra vaccines needed for walk-ins right now. So we're planning on doing the same numbers as last year, which we did about 150.
That's amazing.
So we hope to make the same. A lot of the seniors were excited that we're having it at the new senior center building. So that also helped as well. And they put it in their senior newsletter. So we got a lot of signups right away.
Beautiful.
Next year, we might consider maybe just doing a seniors only clinic there. Just to kind of limit it more because that seemed to get the most appreciation. We do have people signing up for the second clinic, which is all ages, on the 21st of October. It's about half full right now. So it might be a little less than the 150, but I think we're still going to have a good showing.
Is there an appetite if we have a good showing at that one, maybe to do one in the month of November?
We could. We just have to guarantee numbers at that point, and it gets a little tighter once you get into November because people who vaccinate early for the holidays and such, after that, they don't really consider it that late into the season. But if we can find enough push for it, we can definitely have one. It's just a question of what location we have it at.
Okay.
The pharmacy we work at is pretty flexible and everything.
Beautiful. Air Family Pharmacy.
Yes.
Oh, they're amazing people.
Yes. Very easy to work with. It's just been a good experience overall.
Perfect. All right. Well, it is 7:10. Are we finished with that topic real quick? I didn't mean to cut you off, Francis.
I can give you some more stuff after the hearings or in
Perfect.
between, see how we land. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, let's do that. It is 7:10. Why don't we continue our start our public hearing for 34 Baldwin Hill Road, which has a variance request for BOH Board of Health Regulation 27 and the groundwater offset reduction. And it looks like it's Kirk Fitzpatrick presenting again. It's the Kirk show tonight.
Good evening again. This is Kirk Fitzpatrick with Civil Solutions, and I'm here on behalf of 34 Baldwin Hill Road. Be happy to share the plan.
Alrighty. I would love that. Thank you so much.
And that's not the right plan.
Well, we don't see anything yet. There we go. Nope, that's the last one.
There we go.
There we go. Beautiful.
So basically what we have proposed before you is a septic system upgrade for the existing 3-bedroom dwelling. Again, it's a small lot. It's 10,430 square feet. It's currently served by a small tank, kind of where I'm hovering here. And then that feeds a leach field, a long, narrow leach field across the backyard. So we did 2 test holes and ran a perk test. So the 2 test holes, let me zoom in here. So test hole 1, we had 48 inches of fill and then changed to a loamy sand with a seasonal high water table at 42 inches. In test hole 2, we had 42 inches of fill with the seasonal high water table right at the change at 42 and also changed to a sandy loam. And we were able to run the percolation test. Both test holes were dry and we got a percolation rate of 6 minutes per inch. So what we're proposing is to come out to a new 1,500 gallon 2-compartment septic tank, which will flow to a 1,000-gallon pump chamber and pump the liquid up to the leach field, which is proposed to be a Presby EnviroSeptic that's 10.5 feet wide by 42 feet long. So the backyard presently slopes, it goes up to 101 here in the corner, and then slopes down to 96 towards the neighbor's property. The back of the foundation, which we call elevation 100, so it's actually elevated a little bit, but this section, which is kind of it's the doorway to the basement more or less, is actually sitting on the ground. So you can't change the grade here in front of this part of the structure. So that's at like 97.5. So we're proposing to use the Presby with a reduced groundwater offset. So the bottom of the system would be at 97. So that would be the breakout grading. And then the finished grade over the top of it would be 99.5. So it is still lower than the top of the foundation, but it allows us to blend it in and not impact that back section of the house and also grade off towards the neighboring lot line. But the fill is maintained more than 5 feet from the lot line. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have. This property is serviced by town water, which comes in the right front corner of the property.
Okay. Francis, why don't you go ahead and give a lovely summary?
So like Kurt said, it's a very tight lot, so there's very limited area to be able to site the system. This kind of seems like the best solution to allow it to meet minimum setbacks essentially from the foundation of the property line. Increasing from 2 to 3 feet would require additional fill within the property line. It might have to go past the property line unless they had to do a retaining wall. So it seems like a reasonable solution. It is a little elevation difference, but I don't think runoff will be an issue.
No, all the runoff will continue in the same pattern that it currently does. The backyard kind of drains from the right to the left and then around the house and actually towards the neighbor's property a little bit. I tried to situate the leach field. It might look funny that it's at a little bit of an angle, but it runs parallel with the contour at 98 to try to keep it as low as possible and impact the back of the house as little as possible.
Okay. Anything else, Francis?
Nope.
Mr. Baker, do you have any comments?
I have no questions, no comments. No.
Okay. Mr. Kane, do you have any comments?
No, my only concern would obviously be the runoff, but yeah, it looks like it's in line with where it was running off anyway. Is that a fence or stone wall at the very back of the property line?
There is a stone wall that runs across the back of the property line. And then this squiggly line is the edge of the brush line. There's a larger tree here. And then there's actually two very large maple trees in the side yard and then another one in the front yard. And then this is a garden in the neighbor's yard.
Nope, I don't think I have any other questions. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So I've got about 3 questions. Distance from the foundation at the closest point looks like it's more than 10 feet. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the tanks are set 10 feet away, which is the minimum.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
the leach field is 20 at its closest point, which would be right about where I'm hovering.
Okay. And did I hear you say that you're 5 feet off the property line in that corner?
No,
I thought it
it
was-
maintains 10 feet off the property line all the way around.
Okay.
But the fill over here on the side to the left is in excess of 5 feet.
Okay. All right. And then the final question that I have is that you've got this ginormous vent pipe that's kind of off on the side. Is that going to be the actual length of the vent pipe? And it's right there. Well,
This?
yeah, it
So-
looks. No, not that. Not that. If you go back down to the main drawing, you see there's
Yeah.
a black line that goes from the presby over towards the shed. See how you have the
that's-
proposed.
Yeah. So this section of piping will all be below grade. The actual pipe only
okay.
sticks up 3 feet. I stick
it.
it off. I tried to put it off the back corner of the shed to hide it more than anything, to be honest with you.
Oh, that I'm all for. Well, what I was just kind of questioning the length of that. I'm fine if that's the intent. Okay.
Yeah. My experience is if I show it next to I give the contractors the option of putting it where they want, but I request that they discuss it with the homeowners. But my experience is if I show it right off the end of the system, that's where it ends up. So I try to put it where I think is going to be least intrusive to the property. And then
Got it.
this system actually uses the bypass vent for the high vent for the presby.
Got it. Okay.
So the presby has differential venting. So the low vent will come off the end of the system and go over behind the shed.
Yep.
And then it utilizes the high vent will be back through the septic tank and utilizes the vent through the building sewer.
Okay. Okay. Are we showing that? Oh, you said the vent would go back through the septic tank and the pump tank.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Whereas the other one had another pipe. The previous one had a different piping for the return on the vent, which I saw different. Okay. Does anybody have any follow-up questions on the board? We have one hand raised, Bob. Let me promote you to the panelist to ask your question. Bob, you are being promoted right now. Another window should pop up that you'll accept. Bob, you have been promoted to the panelist. Please state your name and address for the record. Bob, you're still on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. So why don't you go ahead and state your name and address for the record, please, sir?
Sure, Bob Toperoff, 11 Paula Beth Street. And
Thank you, sir.
my only concern is as a contiguous neighbor to the back, I heard someone mention earlier that there might be runoff. Should I have any concern about any runoff coming through the back into my property?
The answer to that would be no. The grade actually continues up to the stone wall. So you're really not going to get any runoff in that direction. And then the grade actually rises up towards as it goes from left to right or toward the south, the grade actually comes up as you go across the back of the lot. So no, you should not have any increased runoff towards your property.
Okay. That was my only concern.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other concerns, Bob?
No, I'm all set.
Awesome. I'm going to change your role back to attendee. Okay. So, all right. So hearing no other questions and no other questions in the audience. Okay. I would like a motion. Mr. Baker.
I would like to make a motion.
Let's go. Oh, wait, one second.
Mr. Kane.
Yeah, Mr. Kane.
Oh, sorry, we had a hand in the audience. We have a hand.
Oh, we do. We do. 1 second. Promote them to the panelist. Mr. Kurt Kramer. Thank you, Dan, for that. Almost missed them. Kurt, go ahead and unmute yourself and then state your name and address for the record, please. Kirk, go ahead and state your name and address for the record, please.
Just make sure I got this all set up. Yep. I think I'm on the air now.
You are.
Okay. Yeah, it is Kurt Kramer. We are at 32 Baldwin Hill, next door. So we will be to the left of this property facing the house.
Okay.
The only question really just comes up since we're down, we're down property of that for runoff. We just had concerns of we don't have a retaining wall, we don't have a stone wall or anything of that nature. So our only concerns were, are we going to be impacted in any way from that point?
I'd be happy to answer that. So there should not be any increased runoff coming off of this system. So when it's all said and done, it's going to be landscaped with grass. So currently the groundwater or the rainfall or runoff in the backyard comes around the house and actually goes towards your property in any case. And that's the way that the flow will continue to come across the property. And then along the lot line, it actually drops from about 97.5 towards at the back where the stone wall is, and then drops down to 96 and it continues out towards the street. So the natural path of flow for the runoff is going to come off that system and go down towards the street as it does now.
Okay. I understand. The only other concern, I just from being, the uninformed neighbor, access for construction into the yard. There is that large maple tree that's on the side of the house. There isn't much space between our property and the existing property between the house and the tree. We're just thinking that there'd be a lot of access coming across our property to perform the construction, and we were just concerned about that too.
So to answer that, they will not be allowed to go on your property to access the backyard for this. So if they have to trim a couple branches on those large maples, that's what they'll have to do to get in, but they will not access the backyard through your property.
Completely understood. And I mean, it's not like I don't know what the word would be for it. It's like an impact. We were just curious to find out what the access would be, if they needed to go that direction to get into the backyard, because they're both tight yards. I mean, even if there was if we needed to do this project in our backyard next door here, it would be the same effect. Both sides of the house, you'd never get the work back there. So, I mean, that's a concern to us in the future if we ever needed to do something, but that's something that we'd have to take on. But that definitely answered all the questions that I could think of. So that's perfect.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I'll move you back as an attendee. All right. Good eye, Dan. That was amazing that you got that because I didn't see that at all. All right. Do I have a motion? I don't think we got the motion. Maybe we did. No, I didn't think so. So yeah. Okay, so let's a motion, please. Someone? Anyone?
I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the plan as presented and allow for a reduction in the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet with the use of the Presby EnviroSeptic leaching system, and to allow a variance to regulation 27 to allow fill required to meet minimum breakout grading requirements within 10 feet of a property line.
Second.
I have a motion, and now I have a second. Let's do a roll call vote. Mr. Kane,
Mr. Kane votes yes.
Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
and the chair, Kevin Davis, votes yes. Thank you so much. So moved. Our next public hearing is at 7:20, and it is 7:26. So we will start our public hearing for 38 George Street, which is going to require a variance request for the Board of Health Regulation 27, groundwater offset reduction. I believe it's the Kirk show again as
within 10
well.
feet.
So Kirk, if you wouldn't mind sharing the plan
Yep.
for
I'm
your
Kirk
third one.
I'm Kirk Fitzpatrick with Civil Solutions. I'm here on behalf of 38 George Street. So basically,
Okay, 1 second. Francis, did you have something you wanted to chat about?
So I think that he's applying for both in this situation, the regulation 27 for the fill, and then approval for the 2-foot reduction.
Okay, great. Kirk, why don't you go ahead and why don't we go ahead and present? And could you zoom in a little bit into that so eyeballs actually? There we go. Perfect.
Yep. So much like the last one, it's a proposed upgrade for the existing 3-bedroom house that's being sold. So it failed a Title V inspection. Right now, it's actually got a small tank underneath the porch behind the house, and they think there's some type of a leaching structure, a leaching field off the left rear corner of the house. So we went over to the left side of that, conducted 2 test holes 1 and 2, and perk test A, where we had test hole 1 had 12 inches of fill, some old subsoil, and then changed to a sandy loam with a seasonal high water table at 32 inches. Then the second test hole, we had 22 inches of fill, an old layer of subsoil, and then changed to a sandy loam that had a seasonal high water table at 42 inches. Both test holes were dry, so we were able to run the perk test, and that ran at 10 minutes an inch. So what we're proposing to do is actually, so this house has plumbing in the lower level. So we're going to come out and put a clean out and a 2-foot radius sweep and get the tank away from underneath the structure. So we're going to put a new 1,500 gallon 2-compartment tank, and that's going to flow to a 1,000 gallon pump chamber, which is going to pump the liquid up to a system composed of the Presby EnviroSeptic that's 10.5 feet wide by 42 feet long. So test hole 1, just the grade of the land, there's kind of a low spot here in the corner. They used to have an above ground pool there, and I think they excavated out some material. So that test hole is lower than this one. So the system is going to be flat, but it blends in fairly well. The finish grade over the top of it is going to be elevation 98. And the grade at the house there now is about 97.5. So it's not going to come up too much, but it does have fill within 10 feet of the property line. So this contour 97 will wrap around the perimeter of the system, and then the finish grade over the top of it will be 98. So George Street is out in the front, and then actually Hill Place is a paper street that runs down the sideline. So they actually, where it's a paper street, I think they legally have rights to the center line of Hill Place, but the property line is shown here as the darker line, and then the curved radius in the front for the old street right away. But their yard, if you were out there, it looks like their yard goes to the fence line. There's a stone wall in the back that runs on top of the lot line, but then there's a fence set in further. I think this fence was probably put in when they had the above ground pool. So we're requesting for a reduction in the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet with the use of the Presby. This allows it to blend in with the property. If we didn't use the 2-foot offset, this would need retaining walls, both along the back and down the side. And then we're asking for fill within 10 feet of our property line. So it's about 5 feet off the back. The toe of the slope will be about 5 feet off the back inside the fence line. And then it's only a couple feet off the sideline. But again, that's a paper street where Hill Place is. There's actually the fence line is about 8 feet further over. And then there's a walking path that connects George Street with the end of Hill Place. So Hill Place right now is currently a dead end. The pavement ends right behind this house. The house is served by town water, and then it's also served by natural gas. The driveway's in the front left corner, and I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Francis, why don't you go ahead and
Sure.
whatever.
Just like the last property, it's a very tight lot, tighter in this lot. My only question was, would it actually require a retaining wall on the side if it was 3 feet instead of 2 feet? And Kurt answered that question. So I don't really have any other notes. The sweep was a good idea coming out of the building. Pretty straightforward from our standpoint.
Go to our board pals. Mr. Baker, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Mr. Kane, any questions?
No questions. It's a tight lot, and I don't have any questions.
I'm going to also say I'm really glad and happy that you have it within the property lines. Paper streets kind of get ugly, and the fact that there's a constructed street behind it, it's still within the subdivision plan. I ran into when I owned a house in Wilmington, it was one paper street after another. It was very challenging in Wilmington to understand the paper street, because unless it's been abandoned, it's still a possibility within the subdivision lot. But I'm glad you have it within the contained lot, so that's all good.
Thank you.
Okay. Does the board have any other questions or comments? Okay, then can I have a motion, please? Mr. Kane.
I'll make a motion that we approve the reduction in groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet using the Presby EnviroSeptic leaching system, and grant a variance to Board of Health Reg number 27 to allow fill within 10 feet of the property line for 38 George Street.
Second that.
Is amazing. Kevin Baker seconded. That is awesome. So roll call vote. Mr. Baker.
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Kane.
Mr. Kane votes yes.
And the chair, Kevin Davis, votes yes. Congratulations, Kirk. You got the trifecta.
Well, thank you very much, and have a good night.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the professionalism. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I appreciate it too. Good night.
Good night. Also, there was nobody in the audience to make any comments, so that's the reason I didn't do any audience comments. So just want to put that out there for the record. Okay. On to the next piece of business. The ID decision support tool. Dr. Wason is not here this evening. Is anybody prepared to do the presentation of the ID support tool?
I tried to pull it up and it wouldn't allow me to.
Well, that is something we're going to need to fix. So let's make sure we put that on the agenda and get it so that Francis or any one of us can pull it up. And
It's probably a setting that IT has to set.
yeah, it's fine. Or he could share it as part of being in SharePoint. But not that I'm a computer scientist and do with this all day, anything like that. So this is all good. All right, so we'll just have to skip that. The only thing, do we have any updates on West Nile or Tripoli? Because we're into that season where it's going to start to, it's starting to get dark outside again, all that kind of good stuff. So any updates on there?
The West Nile virus mosquitoes are doing a very good job of staying outside of Littleton.
That is amazing. What barrier did we put up around the property lines of Littleton for that to happen?
I don't know yet.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. So, I mean, a lot of towns, I think 10 towns last week went on a critical high alert. Littleton was not one of those towns. We still remain moderate.
Okay.
There's nothing that's been recent in the vicinity, but as always, we caution people to use standard precautions, such as putting on EPA approved repellent, wearing long sleeves when possible. Try to avoid going out between dusk and dawn hours when they're the most active. The good thing about West Nile virus, I don't know if it's good, but it's not Triple E. So
That probably is one of the good things. It's not Triple E. Have we had any mention of Triple E around us as we had some?
so far this season, there has been positive mosquito samples, but no human cases at this point. And I believe the samples that were positive were more towards Worcester, Mass.
Beautiful. Far away from us. Okay. Is there anything that we need to be doing to become more prepared for when West Nile becomes more serious or Triple E becomes a thing?
Triple E is unpredictable. We would have to probably have an emergency meeting, much like last year. And the board would want to consider what kind of restrictions or recommendations might be appropriate at the time. But as of right now, as we haven't seen any human cases, that's a good sign at this point in the season. The temperatures are dipping. It's just important for people to remember that just because it gets colder in the season, until the first actual frost, mosquitoes can be dormant at any point and then come back out if there's a high temperature week.
A warm spell.
Right.
Warm spell. Okay. So we are ready to go if it goes from moderate to some other level for West Nile, and ready to go for all that stuff if we need to. And Triple E, let's keep knocking on wood to make sure that we don't have to do any emergency meetings. Awesome. Okay. Anything else from the from the board? Sorry. Anything? Okay. I'll consider that closed at 7:30. We are cooking along. We got 2 minutes before our next item is kind of coming along, which is administrative matters. Wow, we should have vamped a little bit more on the West Nile. Okay.
Please no.
So sorry. Yeah, so the ID decision support tool also had the COVID numbers. Wastewater, I took a peek at wastewater yesterday. Did anybody else take any peek at the wastewater stuff? Because I haven't seen anything. It looks okay-ish. I'm not seeing a weird spike or anything like that. So I think that's where I'm at with that. RSV, I haven't heard anything from hospitals or anything like that. So I'm assuming that's okay. Dan or Kevin or Francis, have you heard anything from anybody? Has our nurse in town heard anything, Francis, that RSV is in the population?
Not yet.
Okay. My wife did get her RSV vaccination. So for those of you that are of age and appropriate risk exposure, please consider going and getting an RSV vaccination because RSV is nasty, really nasty. All right. And let's see. So COVID, RSV, West Nile, Triple E. Oh, flu. How are we doing on that? I don't think we've seen any large uptick or anything like that. The state started doing numbers, if I remember correctly.
I don't think we'll start to see anything for at least another month, I would.
All right, so everybody go get your COVID and flu vaccines. Pretty pleased with sugar on top. All right, it is now 7:40. Woo! There we are. Look at that. Administrative matters. Yay. Francis.
So recently we were notified that we're going to be receiving an additional $40,000 for opioid settlement funds. It's not as good as it sounds. So there are going to be two packages. One comes from the Sackler estate, and Purdue. That one I believe is worth about $35,000. And then there's going to be a second package for secondary manufacturers, and I believe that one is about 5.5, 6. Why it's not great is because that's the first one is over 10 years, and the second one is over 15 years. So it does not really help in our yearly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it's being set up as a structured settlement is essentially what it is.
Yep, it'll go in the stabilization accounts just like the other ones, but it will account for some kind of small programming.
Is there any way that we can? Oh, well, maybe we can buy tick things like more tick kits or more COVID vaccine or COVID tests or something like that.
The state is very strict about how we spend it. They won't let us.
Oh, that's right. It has to be specific. Oh, that's right. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Yeah. The good thing is it might help with certain programming where we might be able to increase participation by offering like gift card incentives or something like that, or prizes to engage audiences. So that's most likely where it'll end up.
Okay. Mylar balloon filled with air to give to kids that come and get vaccines. Okay. Dan didn't like that idea.
Yeah.
All right. Any comment from the board on any of those on that item? Hearing none, let's move on.
So our regional OPA group is still in conversations. We sent out what we think an IMA would look like to town council. We just got it back today, actually, and they didn't really have any comments.
For those of us that may not know the TLA 3-letter acronym for an IMA, could we please explain what an IMA is?
Sorry, it stands for Intermunicipal Agreement. So it would be agreement between 2 or more municipalities.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Awesome. Thank you.
So as of right now, what that would cover, if we were looking at an agreement, would be filling a position of basically a specialist or a third-party agency that would fill that role. In extension to that, we've recently been talking with Riverbend, which used to be Lowell House. They're a well-known organization. They've been around for about 50 years. There was a recent grant through RISE, which is part of the opioid settlement funds, where you can do matching contributions towards some kind of initiative during the year. So we're meeting with them next week because they want to talk about some ideas they had and see if we can connect within a group to be able to do something. So it'll be an interesting conversation. I'm not sure what those ideas are yet, but I'll let you know once I get them next week.
Beautiful. Does anybody on the board have any questions or comments regarding it? Okay. Next administrative matter.
So recently we have participated in a roundtable for health access in the region, North Central. And one of the big initiatives that the Health Foundation of Central Mass has been trying to work on is creating telehealth centers within the region for people set up in maybe municipalities or certain buildings to help people have better accessibility to healthcare appointments. So we talked last week, and right now they're looking at a site in Ayer, and considering looking at municipalities if they can host a room for local residents where they can give you the equipment to be able to conduct it. So Littleton has been part of that conversation, and so far it seems like a reasonable, good idea. Most likely we'd be looking at the senior center to be able to host something like that. So those talks are ongoing. They're just kind of in the initial stages, but I just wanted to give the boards a heads up early on before we get into more serious talks when it comes before you.
I think that's an amazing idea to have the remote telehealth be at the community center where the nurse is already located. I think that would be absolutely amazing. The other thing that came to mind quickly also, but might interfere with the septic system over at the point was there's all those open places for something to come in over at the point, but because of the septic system on there and can't exactly open. So that's there. As far as community health too, were you guys at that roundtable talking about the new UMass Med Emergency Room Center going into Groton, or was that not brought up at that community roundtable?
That was last week, so we didn't get the Monday announcement on it.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm sure there'll be a future discussion about it because they'll probably tie into each other at some point.
Okay. Beautiful. Any of the members of the board have any comments, questions? Nothing. Perfect. Next item on administrative.
Last one I will address is we currently have a housing situation at 421 King Street, known as Littleton Green. It's senior affordable housing. I want to mention the case because we might get sucked into a legal battle that's going on with the case. So there was a situation where a tenant is now deceased. There was a hoarding condition within the unit itself, and there was a flood from the bathroom sink that extended into the common halls and also a neighboring apartment. There's also, which makes it complicated, a sibling injunction for inheritance of stuff that is in the unit itself. So the case is stuck in court right now on who gets what in the unit. And essentially, management has not been able to go into the unit because of the court case. So they have sealed the unit, but they have not been able to address the issue of the previous water damage. And given the hoarding of the case, they're not going to be able to properly remediate at this point anyway, unless they move all the stuff out. So we're working with management right now, where I've sent an order saying that it's an unsanitary condition. It's also a public health nuisance, and it needs to be remediated immediately. So we are requesting immediate action and remediation to be completed within 30 days. But by doing that, we might have to spend a day in court explaining the order and why it's more important than what the legal battle is about right now. So the management company can go out, take the stuff, put it into a storage unit off-site, and be able to remediate carpets, everything in the apartment that was affected.
Okay. Tanner, Kevin, any questions?
Just a quick one. So, I mean, in this case, what the civil discussion is on the civil side. This really is a public health, since it extended beyond that apartment into common areas in the next door. That you're working with the management company. Have you had to reach out to housing court, or you issued the order that needs to be corrected? I guess I'm just like, is this a housing court issue the order to basically try to override the civil discussion back and forth, or is it already before civil court side and we need to go before them to say they can figure it out, but we need to do this first? I'm just wondering what that process is. And certainly going to housing court is part of what we do, but just kind of like where is there a barrier? What's the barrier, and how can we help get past that so we can make sure the building, the neighbors are in a good place?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. Right now it is a civil matter, so that's why we did the letter, so that it could be done that way. As a public health hazard, obviously that trumps any other situation. So basically what the letter does is starts the timer before we go to housing court. So if they can't comply within this time, then we go to housing court with a criminal complaint. And that's how we get that done. It's just, unfortunately, everything's a process and everything takes a certain time now. So, but on both sides, we're basically playing the system to see which one will get a quicker result.
Other than the obvious concerns about mold and everything else, is there anything more acute as far as water is still on the other apartments and there's no, I mean, I'm sure the building inspector has also been out to make sure there's no structural damage from the water. that kind of stuff, right? So it's not, this isn't, it's urgent, but it's not emergent.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's impacting people. The smell is somewhat foul. And it just
Okay.
basically it's going to get worse by the day. And there's also a pet in the apartment, which, given the conditions, probably didn't help the situation. So there's probably something to that as well.
Have we tried to remove the pet from
The pet has been removed. It's
Okay.
been rehoused. We're in the process.
Okay. All right. Good. Mr. Baker, do you have any?
No comment. No questions.
Have we reached out to town council about this yet, or?
They're aware of it, but yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted to do, is make sure that they were aware. All right, beautiful. I think you said that's the last. Does anybody else have anything in administrative matters that they would like to bring up? Good one. Good. All righty. That is it for administrative matters. It is now 7:51. We are deep into our agenda. Love this. Correspondence. Did we have any correspondence this week from anybody? Prentice.
So that correspondence that I forwarded to the board just recently this week is from the I forget their name. Tobacco Free Generation. I don't know if that's something the board wants to look at and consider, but I just wanted to forward to you and bring it to your attention.
Okay.
I think we have to look at our tobacco regulation as well. So we can certainly talk about it as part of that discussion. I think it'd be important now to look at tobacco regulation, considering 550 construction will start soon. Companies will be around. So things like if you want to have a limit on tobacco permits and type of tobacco operations that are allowed in the town for new construction.
Okay. I think, is there an appetite on the board for doing something like that? Board members that are present?
I guess it's just generally a question of whether we want to make that an agenda item.
Yeah. Okay. So an agenda item for discussion? Okay.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Okay. Any other correspondence from the board? Did anybody receive anything from the board themselves? Nothing. Actually, I did receive one email from a constituent. It was concerning some confusion around the COVID vaccine and age and how to get it and all that kind of good stuff. I referred them to some public direction that the Mass Public Health had sent out around that. And I pointed to our page that had some general information, and also told them to go have a conversation with their primary care physician, because that is the best place to have that discussion. So I think that was something that was really good. And it was very crazy for like 3 or 4 days of what was going on and happening. So hopefully we're headed in the right direction. I think we are. So that's all good. Does anybody else have any other comments or discussion or board member updates? Board member updates? It's the National Pancake Day or anything like that, Dan? Usually you got something like that. Come on, man.
Well, it is coming to the end of September, but September is Suicide Prevention Month.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously it's a big solution to what may be a temporary problem. Reach out for help, whether that's through your medical provider, your community, 988. There are lots of opportunities, but certainly reach out if you're concerned about friend or family member. Intervene, don't ignore it. Hope it gets better. Certainly if it's emergent, 911 is there. We have co-responder program here in Littleton now, thanks to our consortium with Acton, Boxborough, and it may just be the two of them. But we have many options here, from simply dialing 988 to talk to somebody, or 911 for something that's emergent and needs to be dealt with right this minute. So reach out, take action, don't ignore it like anything else. See something, say something. Same thing happens for your friends, family, and for yourself. There you go. There's my PSA.
Perfect. And I'll second all of that and amplify that. Also, keep an eye on your not only general people, but also teens. Teens can have an awful lot of pressure on them from not only social pressure, social media, and other things. So please be aware of that as well and use all those resources that. Kevin, anything?
I'd like to make a motion.
Make a motion. What? I have one thing I'd like to talk about just before you make that motion, because I think that's the motion you're going to make. October is coming up, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month and all cancers. So please do what is the appropriateness to go talk to your primary care and take care of yourself and all the things that need to happen for that. So that is also coming up. So thank you so much for that. Do we have anything else? I don't think we do. And do we have anybody in? We do not have any attendees, so there's no one in there. So Kevin, I think you were going to say something.
All right. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion on the floor to adjourn. Do I have
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
motion and seconded? This calls for a roll call vote. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Kane,
Mr. Kane votes yes.
and Mr. Davis, the chair, votes yes. This concludes our September 24th, 2025 Board of Health meeting for the town of Littleton.